39,000 pounds of pure cocaine, $362 million, all seized in one operation. But here's what
The FBI has added a senior leader of the Venezuelan gang, Trende Aragua.
The city was still asleep when the streets of Texas and California were torn apart by the roar of battering rams. Federal agents burst into homes and warehouses, turning a quiet dawn into a battlefield. Within minutes, they were pulling bags with more than 500 kilograms of methamphetamine from under floorboards, along with stacks of cash and weapons. Authorities say this is the biggest hit on a drug cartel in the Southwest in years. The operation unfolded simultaneously across several key points of the Southwest, from El Paso and San Antonio in Texas to San Diego and Imperial Valley in California. For years, this corridor was considered one of the main transit hubs. Interstate highways, dry ports, and small border warehouses created perfect cover for trafficking. The organization operated like a true logistics corporation. Trucks with legitimate invoices, licensed food companies, and cold storage warehouses where containers of zucchini and avocados concealed loads of methamphetamine. The raids hit multiple buildings across 3 cities, and intelligence suggests this was not just a local crew, but a multi-state network with routes stretching from the border to inland distribution centers. Federal agents call the operation the most extensive strike against regional drug trafficking in recent years. What ended today with rapid raids began almost 2 years ago with an anonymous report that, at first glance, seemed routine. An ordinary long-haul truck driver reported strange shipments regularly passing through a private warehouse in San Diego under the guise of vegetable deliveries. At the time, it didn't look like anything significant, until customs inspectors noticed a sudden spike in imports from the Mexican side, with documents that were almost identical month after month. That repetition became the first signal to form an interagency group. FBI, DEA, and HSI agents joined the case, creating a joint task force capable of tracking both financial flows and logistical routes simultaneously. The first months of the investigation were quiet. Analysts reviewed invoices, truck movement maps, and GPS tracker data obtained through a court order. Then came the wiretaps. They produced the first fragments of conversations about green boxes and cold corridors, which turned out to be code names for different types of containers. At the same time, undercover agents carried out a series of controlled buys, obtaining tablets that DEA labs confirmed contained high-purity methamphetamine. This proved the case wasn't about small-scale local distribution. It was a stable, industrial-level pipeline. Gradually, the scheme took shape. Legitimate food companies registered under straw owners imported trucks of avocados and zucchini, hiding drug shipments inside double walls and transit crates. Payments were routed through crypto wallets using mixing services to obscure the source of funds. Certain segments of the logistics chain were controlled by shell companies that supposedly handled international transport, but were actually used to buy fuel, register vehicles, and file fake paperwork. Throughout 2024, the task force tracked at least 37 suspicious shipments, and the FBI's financial team uncovered more than a dozen transactions broken into small crypto transfers, a classic structuring technique to avoid detection. The key breakthrough came from a courier's mistake. He filed an insurance claim for a supposedly damaged load and listed the trailer number, a number already linked to the investigation. That provided grounds for a new warrant and access to internal movement logs. A few months later, agents finally traced the operation to a warehouse in Houston, which turned out to be the final staging hub, the place where narcotics were repackaged into smaller loads for distribution throughout the states. Surveillance lasted over half a year. Cameras hidden in trucks recorded movements. Drones tracked couriers, and financial analytics uncovered hidden payments to front consulting firms. The final trigger was the arrest of one driver in New Mexico. His phone contained a chat discussing a synchronized window, the time when 3 warehouses would receive new shipments at once. That meant the network was preparing a major load, and if agents didn't move immediately, It could disappear into the shadows for months, if not forever. Today, at 4:30 a.m., after nearly 2 years of surveillance, federal agencies moved into the final phase. 3 key points were raided simultaneously: the warehouse in San Diego, a logistics hub in El Paso, and the final sorting zone in Houston. A total of 15 people were arrested, including route coordinators, owners of shell companies, and 2 accountants responsible for crypto transfers. Another 4 members fled the day before. The task force believes they were tipped off by an internal informant and are now wanted. Searches are ongoing, but one thing is already clear. This was one of the most sophisticated and technologically protected trafficking channels federal agencies have encountered in the past decade. And this morning became the moment when the multi-layered shadow logistics finally broke down. At the center of the investigation is a powerful transnational organization with Venezuelan roots, a network that investigators describe as one of the most formidable criminal structures operating on U.S. soil in recent years. This is not a classic street cartel, but rather a multi-layered corporation with clearly defined departments: logisticians, financial managers, crypto wallet operators, chemical technicians, and separate state overseers for each region. In fact, the United States served not as their final market, but as their primary transit hub. Here, the drugs were refined, blended, packaged, and redistributed further, from the Midwest to the East Coast. The scheme started abroad. According to investigators, supplies moved through Venezuelan routes, where raw material, methamphetamine and components for synthetic drugs, was mixed with Mexican shipments. Small laboratories in South America produced the basic precursors, which were then transported through Panama and Mexico to the U.S. border. Once inside Texas and Arizona, the network used domestic chemical workshops disguised as repair shops and private garages. The drugs were purified, blended with additives, and prepared for distribution. The chemists worked assembly line style: separate teams for pressing, separate teams for packaging, separate teams for quality control, all with minimal risk of information leaks. Weapons formed the second structural element. Couriers obtained illegal pistols and automatic rifles through straw purchase schemes carried out by U.S. citizens acting as fronts. The weapons weren't used only to guard warehouses. They were also sold to other criminal groups, turning the network into a two-way marketplace. Drugs moved north, weapons moved south. Investigators link part of the arsenal seized today directly to Venezuelan colectivos, armed formations long known to collaborate with narco-traffickers. Another branch of the network handled migrant smuggling. The group charged people for crossing the border, but in practice, most of them ended up in forced labor. Some were used in warehouses, sorting and lifting cargo, while others were sent to residential centers in Houston and San Antonio, where they worked under threats of debt, confiscated documents, and violence. This created an extra resource with no attention drawn to it, a labor force that would never report anything to the police. Financing was another cornerstone of the system. The money from drug and weapons sales was not held in cash. More than 70% of payments were conducted through cryptocurrency. The network used dozens of digital wallets broken into small transactions, routed through mixers, DeFi platforms, and offshore exchanges. In this way, the funds were laundered and sent back to Venezuela and Panama under the guise of profits from logistics and consulting companies. These same channels were used to pay for laboratory equipment, precursors, and the fake invoices needed for importing goods. The most concealed part of the operation was technological smuggling. Under the cover of food shipments, the group also moved high-tech components, microchips, industrial sensors, communication modules. According to investigators, these devices were not meant for the U.S. black market, but were routed back to South America, where they could be used for illegal telecommunications networks or military applications. This made the organization dangerous not only to civilians, but to U.S. national security as well. The operational model was strictly tiered: suppliers in Venezuela, chemists and packers in Texas, interstate couriers and drivers. regional distributors, financial handlers, and crypto operators. Each tier knew only its own segment. This fragmentation is what allowed the network to operate for years without major leaks. The danger of the scheme lies in its scale and versatility. According to the DEA, the methamphetamine seized today could have produced tens of millions of doses. Combined with human trafficking, weapons smuggling, and technological contraband, the network evolved into a new type of multi-purpose cartel. Financially resilient, operationally flexible, and internally sealed. These are the structures that, agents say, pose the greatest threat today. They don't merely sell drugs. They build entire parallel economies that operate outside the law and against national interests. Law enforcement spent several weeks preparing for the final phase of the investigation. Although investigators already understood the overall structure, they needed to pinpoint the precise role of each location: warehouses, rented private homes, and shell company offices that functioned as parts of a single large mechanism. One warehouse was responsible for packaging shipments, another for temporarily storing cash and cryptocurrency equipment. A third served exclusively as a transloading point before interstate distribution. This level of fragmentation complicated the operation. Every site had to be hit simultaneously to prevent leaks or the escape of key figures. For 3 weeks, federal agents coordinated with local police in San Diego, El Paso, and Houston. Separate teams were formed: entry units, outside surveillance teams, perimeter blocking groups, and analysts working at command centers with constantly updated maps of all targets. Each warehouse was diagrammed down to the smallest detail: entrances, driveways, potential cover positions, guard locations, even possible escape routes that couriers might use. The decision to move today was made after receiving new intelligence. Fresh shipments were scheduled to arrive at all 3 key sites. This created a unique window: the simultaneous presence of coordinators, drivers, and accountants responsible for crypto payments. At the same time, investigators learned of a possible escape attempt by 2 suspects who had begun to suspect they were being monitored. Any delay could have destroyed the entire 2-year operation. Command centers gave the green light. All teams shift into assault mode. The final phase of the operation exposed the full scale of the criminal assembly line. Thanks to digital analytics, intercepted encrypted messages, tracked crypto transfers, and hidden variable truck routes, agents were able to enter the sites at the exact moment key participants were inside. In the warehouses and rented houses, they found massive drug reserves, more than half a ton of methamphetamine and precursors, enough, according to the DEA, to produce tens of millions of doses. In several containers, the drugs were disguised as food products, primarily boxes of avocados, zucchini, and citrus. A significant amount of weapons was seized as well. 22 firearms, ranging from pistols to automatic rifles, some with serial numbers shaved off, and others traced to straw purchase schemes. Investigators also found several ballistic vests and tactical gear, indicating the group was prepared for armed resistance. Cash totaled more than $150,000 hidden in safes and wall compartments. In addition, agents seized cryptocurrency cold wallets containing access to accounts through which much larger sums had flowed. Nearby were hundreds of fake documents, driver's licenses, visas, employment cards, all issued under fabricated identities. Another trove consisted of electronics. Agents seized servers containing encrypted chats, tablets with logistical maps, radios with custom frequencies, and compact encryption modules used by coordinators to communicate with Venezuelan handlers. During the raids, they also found people: several trafficked laborers held in basement rooms, 3 couriers preparing to depart, and regional coordinators whose arrests gave law enforcement a starting point for further dismantling of the network. According to intelligence services, the methamphetamine seized today originated from several major laboratories in Venezuela, where production has long operated at industrial scale. From there, the narcotics moved through mixed routes, by sea containers via Panama and Mexico, and by land through border staging hubs. This multi-channel system made the network exceptionally resilient, hard to intercept, hard to track, and nearly impossible to shut down in a single blow. Agents explain that the scheme lasted so long because it didn't look criminal. It was a logistics company with all the paperwork in order, DEA officials say. Fake food import firms, legitimate warehouses, trucks with real invoices, everything created the illusion of lawful business activity. That is why today's operation marks a breakthrough. Digital analytics, human intelligence, crypto tracing, and hundreds of hours of surveillance allowed, as one HSI commander put it, to finally cut the backbone of the Venezuelan network. FBI officials called the day of the raids the first significant strike against a South American cartel on U.S. soil, emphasizing that the organization had spent years penetrating America's internal logistics infrastructure. Compared to previous operations against Mexican and Central American groups, this one was uniquely difficult, not because of scale, but because of the intelligence behind the structure. Each layer was autonomous. Agents say nothing about this case was accidental. The structure itself, its technological tools, and its reliance on cryptocurrency made it one of the most serious threats in recent years. They weren't using the U.S. as a market. They were using it as a factory, a federal official stressed. Today, for the first time in a long while, we shut that factory down.